Grab a cup of tea or listen as you go, ladies. This is your hour with Dr. Zoe, your life and relationship coach, with encouragement, on-point insight, inspiring guests, health tips, and advice. Dr. Zoe helps busy women keep their mind in the game by redefining your superwoman. You're listening to The Dr. Zoe Show.
Thank you for tuning in. I'm Dr. Zoe, and you are a pretty amazing woman who is strong and capable and sometimes tired. Rest if you must, ladies, but remember, just don't quit. There is strength in the journey. This show is not for fabled beings with capes who have it all together. This show is for real women who sometimes struggle in the superwoman game. We all struggle sometimes, and so what that means is that this show is for women everywhere. If you're tuning in for the first time today, welcome. If you're tuning in again, thank you for tuning in again. We talk here about things that matter to busy women all over the world. Remember, every woman has a superpower, and my goal as your life coach is to help you find it, embrace it, and share it with the world. I will encourage you in your struggles. I like to share some of my own, and I give you tips and advice to make your life a little easier. We are redefining your superwoman. For those who can't always listen live, you can catch my back episodes on iTunes and pretty much all of the podcast places. Please subscribe. You can search for The Dr. Zoe Show, Redefining Your Superwoman. If you know of a friend who may benefit from some of our topics, please spread the love and share my show. And if you like my show, show me some love with some stars. I think it's 4 stars, 5 stars. I don't remember how many, but as many as you can give me, I'd appreciate it. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel, Dr. Zoe Talks, and listen to episodes there. Text the word JOIN to 38470 to become part of my tribe and get my free monthly newsletters. You will get freebies and monthly tips, encouragement, and insight right into your inbox. So I'm excited to have our guest, Stacy Beaulieu, today, Fawcette, a Christian divorce attorney. I'm so interested in this discussion, ladies, and I think you will be too. Of course, because of the whole concept of Christians getting divorced. It sounds like an oxymoron, and today is all about assumed oxymoron. So my health tips segment is going to be that as well. Next up, health tips. And remember, your body and mind are intimately connected. You cannot have health in one without health in the other, and that is why I have a health tip segment. Healthy looks different on everybody, so stop the comparisons, ladies. I spend my time researching various exercise, health, diet trends to help you on your health journey. So today I'm going to talk about some strange but true health tips. Some of these I've gotten from health.com. So number 1, this one's interesting. Drink coffee to have a better nap. Now, everyone would think, why would you drink coffee and then go have a nap? Well, you want to drink the coffee immediately before. So a 20-minute nap ends just as the caffeine kicks in and clears the brain of a molecule called adenosine, which maximizes alertness. So as adenosine increases, we become more fatigued. So napping already helps clear out that adenosine. But when you combine it with caffeine, which is an adenosine blocker, it amplifies the nap. And you wake up easily without grogginess and you feel more rejuvenated. How cool is that? For me, this is all kind of theory though, because I haven't tried it. So for me, it would be green tea. You guys know I love my green tea. So try it. Let me know how it goes, and I may try it as well. So number 2, don't brush after you eat. Now, I've heard this one before, especially if you're eating acidic foods, because acid temporarily makes our teeth softer. And so if you brush right after, it's actually like using sandpaper on your teeth, and you can be eroding the top layers of your teeth. So wait 30 to 60 minutes after eating, even though your mom told you go brush your teeth right afterwards. You got to wait a little bit. And the next one, number 3, gain muscle weight to slim down and eat more. This is, I swear I live my life on this. Think about this. A 150-pound woman who lifts weights likely wears a size or 2 smaller than a 140-pound woman who doesn't lift weights. So you can eat more, of course, because we know muscle burns more than fat. Muscle, of course, also tightens you, so you're more compact and smaller as a result of gained muscle. So why are women afraid of lifting? Don't be. Lift Lift, ladies. Lift those weights. Get stronger. And we also know it prevents osteoporosis, so another good one. So number 4, drink water when you're bloated. Oxymoron, right? Nope. Your body needs more water to work more efficiently. Water mixes with the soluble fiber and makes it into like a gel-like substance in your body, and this affects the motility of the gut, and it actually reduces the symptoms of bloating. And of course, sometimes we're also bloated due to dehydration, and we don't realize it, because when we're dehydrated, our bodies react by actually holding on to more water. So, and the other thing I thought about was, well, what about when you're bloated because you're on your period? I looked it up, and yes, even hormonal causes of bloating can be reduced by increasing your water intake. So whatever the cause, drinking water helps bloating. You guys all know this one. Ditch the diet soda and diet products. First, they're processed, so we know they're evil, right? Second, listen to this. A University of Texas study found that diet soda drinkers have a 70% greater increase in waist circumference than non-drinkers over the course of 10 years. This is really crucial to me because there have been a ton of other studies that have shown that diet consumers are fatter than non-diet consumers, but it's always been assumed or argued that it's because they're heavier to begin with and that's why they're dieting or are taking diet products. But this study totally debunks that. They're gaining weight eating diet products faster than the normal population. It makes sense to me. It's what I've always said. You can't improve on the food that God made, right? So think about it. When they take out the fat, they replace it with sugar and salt to make it more palatable. And of course, who knows what chemicals are in diet sodas. So get rid of the diet stuff, guys. Just eat whole foods. Number 6, exercise when you're tired. We know that exercise is a great energy booster. Now, I have to admit, I'm usually just too tired to care about that by the time the end of the day goes around. But for those of you who can exercise in the evening or exercise on your lunch break, do it because it will actually give you an energy boost. Okay, so last but not least, ditch the antibacterial products to prevent illness. Wait, what? Yes. First, and this is crazy, there is no evidence that antibacterial soaps are more effective than regular ones. It just sounds like a good idea, and so everyone jumped on the bandwagon. I learned this in the NICU when my daughter was born because the NICU explained the washing hands process, and it's actually the time spent washing your hands, not the product you use to wash them, that determines the efficacy. So even worse, the chemicals like triclosan that they put in some of these soaps can actually increase bacterial resistance and, more importantly, disrupt hormones in your body. Minnesota, the state of Minnesota has banned triclosan products altogether, and a lot more states are jumping on the board. So just practice good hygiene, wash and rub vigorously when you do, and you should be good to go. Ditch the chemicals. So hopefully those were a few tips that you might not have known about. Next up, attorney Stacy Fawcette. I think I said that right. Christian divorce attorney. I have 2 women in my practice right now who identify as Christian, and they're going through a divorce. So I'm really excited to talk about this very real issue, Stacy. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'm glad that you were able to make it here today. You're coming from Nashville, Tennessee, right?
I am. We have our offices in Florida, but we also have offices in Nashville, and I'm in the Nashville office today.
Awesome. I was just sharing with you that I was born in Nashville, Tennessee, so how cool.
Yes, very, very.
So as a Christian attorney, how do you deal with people who say that you're contributing to the demise of marriages, which goes against the Christian religion? I'm just making an assumption that there are probably people who say that.
You are right. There are people that feel that way. Mm-hmm. And, just to kind of give you the longer story of it, I felt that way about being a divorce attorney before I was a divorce attorney. So in law school, I worked for divorce attorneys. Mm-hmm. And in coming out of law school, thinking, okay, well, where do I want to go? Of course, the job offers were divorce law firms because that's where I had worked. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, no, you know what? I'm a Christian, and I don't really want to be involved in the divorce world because God hates divorce. So I'm not going to do this. And I left family law. I tried to leave it anyway. I went to work for a firm that was doing insurance defense, and they wanted to open a family law practice within the firm. So, of course, with my experience, asked me to do it. I said, "Well, look, I'll help you with this, but I'm not gonna stay in this area of law. So I'll help you get it set up, but let me keep my insurance defense cases." But that opportunity allowed me to work with real people going through real problems and really walk through a very, very dark time with them. You know, when you're going through a divorce, you are losing your family, you're losing your kids for half the time or more. You're losing in-laws that have become like moms, second moms and dads to you. You're losing joint friends. It's a very, very dark time. And as a Christian, you're also dealing with the fact that you feel like you have committed a sin. You feel like it's the unforgivable sin. You feel like God is going to hate you for this. Some people have been kicked out of their churches. Some people have been kicked out of serving in the children's ministry. There is a lot that goes along with this, which opens up the door for someone who is a Christian, like myself, to be able to serve these people in the context of the divorce and walk them through this process as a Christian, and being able to share with them all along the way that just because maybe that particular church or that particular group has rejected you because you're going through this, it doesn't mean that God has. This is not the unforgivable sin. This is the purpose of the cross. And really just encouraging them on that side of their divorce, because it's a big piece of it. You can't walk through a divorce with these people and not address the emotional side of it. You have to. It's a huge part of it. And sometimes it's the only part, because if you can't get past the emotional side, you can't get to the real nuts and bolts of it. So, yes, it sounds like an oxymoron, but it truly is a ministry. It's a business, don't get me wrong.
Sure.
You know, everybody gets a paycheck at my law firm, and the lights are kept on, and it's a business. It has to be run. But it gives us a golden opportunity to shine a light in a very dark time for people that need it.
I love that. And especially in the course of my work, because I work with families and I work with, just like I said, people who are divorcing. Of course, as a therapist, people come to me at their darkest hour. And I've also worked with a lot of attorneys, and I can't really think of many who really have any interest in addressing the emotional side. So what a wonderful service that you do, and recognizing that emotional aspect that is crucial, that is center, right, to the whole divorce process. The reality is, if it weren't for the emotional aspect, we really wouldn't need attorneys to divorce.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So we have to acknowledge that. We have to put that at the forefront. We've got to work through that before we can really work through anything else. Otherwise, you have a family making emotional decisions, and that's not what you want. I'm here to make sure that they're going to look at logically, which is difficult to do in an emotional time.
Right.
And that's why dealing with the emotions has to happen first, because then we can move on to a logical decision.
So would you say that the majority of your clients are coming to you as Christians divorcing because they are choosing to divorce, or because their spouse has initiated the divorce process?
It's about equal. You know,
Okay.
Most states now are considered no-fault states.
Right.
So that simply means that anyone can get a divorce for any reason. And even if your spouse doesn't want a divorce, that's it. A divorce is coming.
Right.
Some states have a waiting period where you got to wait a year before you can move forward. Most of the states have gotten rid of that, and as soon as you want a divorce, we're going forward. You're getting a divorce.
Wow.
And Florida is one of those. It doesn't matter who did what wrong. The courts want to hear nothing of it. If you want a divorce, then that's what's going to happen. So I've got people on both ends of the spectrum. I've got people who had no idea divorce was coming. If there was anything in the world they could do to prevent it, they would. But they are going through this process whether they like it or not. I also have people who want the divorce. Christians, yes, absolutely, who want the divorce to happen for whatever reason that may be. And for some of them, the reason is, you know, and we have to have this conversation sometimes because it falls into the realm of their faith. For some of them, even though the legal side has not happened, the divorce, the paper, the divorce happened years ago.
Yes.
You know, that covenant of the marriage was broken years ago by one or both parties.
Mm-hmm.
They have lived kind of separate lives, just as roommates almost in the home.
Right.
And it's time to put that behind them. It's either continue to live in this house with this broken covenant, or let's get the legal side done and move forward. And that sometimes is a big conversation for a Christian, because when they realize that the covenant of the marriage, the part that God hates, the divorce, has happened long ago. God's not talking about the legal paperwork.
You're right.
You know, he's talking about the covenant of the marriage and when that was broken, because that was what he hates. He hates to see the brokenness in the marriage. So if we're living in that brokenness day in, day out, what are we doing? You know, are we preventing that sin that we think is going to happen because the marriage is broken? No, we're living in that every single day, that we are living in the broken marriage. So helping people understand that in that context can be life-changing for some people. We're certainly not encouraging them to get divorced. There are many people who come to me, and when I have the conversation with them of, have you tried couples counseling? Have you tried therapy? No, we're just, I don't think it's going to work. Well, you need to go try. Mm-hmm. I still will advise them of what to expect in the process.
Right.
They need the information, but I'll send them out for counseling before they are allowed to come back in my office, because you haven't even tried. This is your marriage. This is your covenant. You've got to give it a try.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love how Dr. Phil actually talks about divorce, and he says that you have to earn your way out of a divorce, and he's specifically talking about working on it first. But I love what you said, because I rarely hear people say that, and I always talk to my clients about the emotional divorce and the legal divorce and how different they are. And sometimes an emotional divorce happens years before the legal divorce, and sometimes an emotional divorce happens many years after a legal divorce, or sometimes never. And okay, we are going on a commercial break, so I will be back in just a minute, and we're continuing to talk with Stacy Fawcette Beaulieu, a Christian divorce attorney. We'll be back in just a minute. People ask me, how do you have so much energy? I am not a coffee drinker, but I love the benefits of matcha green tea. More antioxidants than coffee and a smooth energy, not the jittery kind that lasts me all day long. Perfect for you supermoms too. I have searched the world over for that perfect matcha for my smoothies, and I have found it at Kiss Me Organics. You can get it too at kissmeorganics.com. Enter the promo code Dr. Zoe, DRZOE, for 10% off and free shipping. Experience the smooth, healthy, organic energy of matcha green tea. kissmeorganics.com. Hi there, you're back with Dr. Zoe and my guest, Stacy Beaulieu Fawcette, a Christian divorce attorney. And prior to the break, Stacy made just a really wonderful point about the difference between an emotional and really a spiritual divorce and a legal divorce, and how those two are not really necessarily related and don't happen at the same time. So, Stacy, how would you counsel a person who doesn't have a biblical grounds for divorce but has very valid reasons to divorce, but's hung up maybe or stuck because they lack the biblical grounds?
I try to avoid my role crossing over into counseling people one way or the other. Mm-hmm. As far as I'm not going to advise someone to get divorced or not to get divorced, not really my role.
Right.
But at the same time, walking them through whether or not, again, talking about whether the emotional divorce, that spiritual side, that covenant with God, whether that's been broken. Mm-hmm. So really walking through with them if and when that has happened. So biblical grounds for divorce are even different than, and there's several different theology on this, so I won't go into that, but biblical grounds for divorce are different than the covenant actually being broken. So one, it would be a ground for divorce in God's eyes. In other words, this would be an acceptable time to divorce. The other being, this divorce happened, whether it was biblically permissible or not. It happened mm-hmm. when the covenant with God was broken in the context of the marriage. So right. Maybe there was an abandonment in the marriage. Maybe there was an emotional abandonment in the marriage. Maybe there was just a complete negligence to be there for each other physically. So different things can happen to break that covenant, whether mm-hmm. it was an acceptable in God's eyes or not. could be a different story.
Sure.
But the covenant can be broken. And that's the part that I will talk to people about is, has the husband and wife been living separate for 3 years? I'll give you a wonderful example of a case that I had. I had a woman come to me, and her husband had been physically abusing her children. And this had been going on for a while. And her words just really kind of stuck with me, because she said that she really has been wanting to leave. She's scared to leave. But more importantly, she knows that God hates divorce, so she can't leave.
Yes.
So in her eyes, it was okay for her to keep her children in a dangerous situation where they were being physically abused, but it wasn't okay to divorce. So, helping people understand and see, because we really are, as Christians, we are really brought up and programmed with an absolute God hates divorce. We can't do this.
Right.
We can't do this. And again, there's the biblical reasons, right? That would be an exception, if you will, different theologies out on it. So I won't spend too much time on it. But then there's the fact that whether you had a reason under that theology or not, it has happened. I moved out, you moved out, someone moved out, moved on, or something has happened to break this covenant. And once the covenant is broken, what are you worried about the legal paperwork for? You should be focusing on the fact that can I repair that covenant? Can I go back and fix that marriage? And if not, then we're dealing with legal paperwork.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. And I have a woman in my practice who's struggling in that same way. And her husband was, he moved out of the bedroom, and they hadn't really been living as husband and wife for many years. And he was also abusive to the children. And it took her, I've been working with her for many years to, really work on being able to be strong enough to, like you said, do the legal aspect of what has already occurred. So how do we know when we just can't mediate? So I'm assuming, and I am making this assumption, do you always suggest mediation, or do you sometimes just not?
Most counties in most states require mediation in every case. So mediation, I would say 99% of the time is something you definitely want to do, and most of the time you're required to do. So let's take a step back for a minute. Mediation is an informal process. It's not in the courthouse. It can be in the courthouse, but it's not a court proceeding. It is literally where me and my client are in one room, the other spouse and their attorney is in another room, and the mediator, who is a neutral party that was mutually selected between the two spouses, attorneys really, goes back and forth between the rooms in order to try to reach an agreement. It can be a partial agreement on some issues. It can be a complete agreement for all the issues in the case. So it's very useful to keep the family a little bit more amicable, because whatever we can't resolve there through settlement or through mediation or through some other amicable method is going to go in front of the judge, which means, for lack of a better term, the boxing gloves are on, or
so
they're coming off.
And that's where they lose, basically the judge makes the decision. They lose the freedom to make those decisions. Okay.
So how I like to tell my clients is, we've got two parents who know their kids better than anyone else. And we can either make decisions regarding your children with the parents who know about the children, or we can take all these decisions and give them to the person in the black robe to make a decision on, who is going to spend half a day with you or maybe a full day with you, never meet your children, and decide what's going to happen with them until they're 18.
Right.
So we really want to keep that control and decision-making ability. We can be extremely creative in the mediation context because we're brainstorming, we're drafting provisions that deal with the family, whether it's financial or children or otherwise. But when we come out of that context and we're going to litigate and go in front of a judge, the judge is going to give you just a cookie cutter, I've got 500 other cases, and this is what I'm doing with yours. Goodbye, have a nice day. So we lose that creativity, we lose that control. We end up with a judgment that doesn't have the detail in it that we would have put, and a host of problems that comes after it. So mediation is always preferred because it gives you a better chance to settle. And the goal would be to settle everything that you can. Sometimes it's only a piece of it. We have one that's going to trial here in the next couple of weeks, and we've settled the parenting. That's a big piece of it.
That is a big piece,
We've got a very detailed parenting agreement. That's going to help these people for the rest of their kids' lives. But the financial part, we just can't see eye to eye on. So that's going to go in front of the judge.
Okay, I see. And so for those listening, obviously mediation is always the best bet, and you're going to get your best outcome if you can just figure out how to mediate this last aspect before you end the relationship. And so for someone who is thinking about a divorce or knows that their spouse is thinking about a divorce, what would you say is the first thing that they need to do? What would be that first step for a woman who's struggling and thinking about it or knowing that her spouse is?
Absolutely, to talk to an attorney. You don't have to decide that you're getting a divorce or know that you're getting a divorce to go and seek counsel. All right. We don't do anything without seeking counsel. So go to the person who does this all day long,
Right.
Go talk to a divorce attorney. You'd be surprised the amount of anxiety and fear that would be relieved by doing that, because, fear stems from the unknown. And
right.
Once you know what the process is going to be like, doesn't mean you're going to go down that process, but to know what it's going to be like, to know what you would be entitled to, where you might have exposure is critical, just to know the lay of the land. And then you can go back home and rest in peace that if something happened and papers were served on you the next day, that you know what to expect. You're already armed with the information. More importantly, sometimes, I know we don't like to think this would happen to us, but sometimes things happen quickly. A husband decides to pick up in the middle of the night and leave with the kids. And you're scrambling because you never even went and talked to an attorney. You don't even know who to call. You haven't established a relationship with anyone. No one knows your story. And you're, 5 miles behind the ball that's rolling down the hill. So we don't like to think that would happen. We don't like to think that a spouse is going to clean out the bank account and leave us with nothing. But these things happen, and they happen every day, and they're why I have a job.
Absolutely.
So get the advice, know what to expect, know what you can do to protect yourself, know the signs to start looking for, and you find that information out from a divorce attorney. When looking for a divorce attorney, make sure you get someone who only does divorce. It's considered family law, marital and family law. Sometimes in some states it's just called family law. But speak to someone who only does that area of law. You don't go to a podiatrist when you have a heart issue. Don't go to an attorney who tries to be good at criminal law, personal injury, and family law. Go to someone who only does family law. We eat, sleep, and breathe it, so we're going to hopefully be good at what we do.
Excellent point. Excellent point. Thank you. Thank you for these wonderful tips. We are going on break, and we will be back in just a minute. You're listening to Dr. Zoe and my guest, Stacy Beaulieu Fawcette. I love your name, Stacy. We'll see you in just a minute. People ask me, how do you have so much energy? I am not a coffee drinker, but I love the benefits of matcha green tea. More antioxidants than coffee and a smooth energy, not the jittery kind that lasts me all day long. Perfect for you supermoms too. I have searched the world over for that perfect matcha for my smoothies, and I have found it at Kiss Me Organics. You can get it too at kissmeorganics.com. Enter the promo code Dr. Zoe, DRZOE, for 10% off and free shipping. Experience the smooth, healthy, organic energy of matcha green tea. kissmeorganics.com. Hi, we are back with the Dr. Zoe Show, and I am here with my guest, Stacy Beaulieu Fawcette, and we are talking about Christians divorcing. She is a Christian divorce attorney, and I've been practicing for 17 years, 18 years, and it was never really on my radar, Christian attorneys for divorce. And so I was just telling Stacy, I'm going to be referring all of my clients who identify as Christian to Christian divorce attorneys, because I could only imagine what a difference it would make in the whole process. So Stacy, first of all, how do people find you? And what states do you practice in?
I am in Tennessee and in Florida.
Okay.
So those two states. We are primarily in the south end of Florida. So, if you're familiar with Florida, it's Martin County and south. In Tennessee, we're in the Nashville area, which kind of covers a big umbrella, as you know, being
Sure.
from Nashville. But they can reach me on our website. It's www.b as in boy, lgfl.com, blgfl.com, or at our 800 number, which is 877-LAW-8101.
Great. And we will put that in the show notes as well for any of you guys listening on podcast. So, Stacy, how would you tell people who don't live in Tennessee or don't live in Florida, how can they find a Christian divorce attorney?
Best always is word of mouth, asking other people for referrals. That's how most of our business comes from, prior clients, referring clients, but there are resources as well. There is an organization that I would venture to say most Christian attorneys belong to, and this is for all areas of law, not just divorce attorneys, but it's called Christian Legal Society, and their website is clsnet.org, and that gives you a listing of Christian attorneys across the country. So every kind of practice area, every area of the country. So that's probably your best resource if you don't know someone who knows someone.
Right. And so tell me what the different experience is with you being a Christian attorney, people coming to you versus going, if they're Christian, going to an attorney who's not.
Well, we've talked a little bit about the emotional aspect,
right.
and having someone that knows about that emotional aspect, knows what you're going through with the guilt that you're facing, the shame that you're facing, because they understand what it means to be a Christian. So again, the emotional aspect of a divorce is the biggest part we have to address first.
Right.
But outside of that, you have the logistical piece of it as well. For example, not too long ago, I had a client come to me. Not only do we do the divorce, but we handle, sometimes you have to modify those divorces.
Sure.
Sometimes, your custody needs to be changed. Something has happened. Sometimes your alimony needs to be changed. Something has happened. So we clean up a lot of other people's messes. And this particular nice lady came to me, and as we were cleaning up other messes, she said, no one even bothered to tell me that I could have a say as to which holidays we addressed and didn't address, and no one included Easter. We don't have Easter as part of one of our co-parenting days that we need to decide where are the children at, and therefore one parent or the other just doesn't get Easter for 7 years in a row because it falls on the other parent's day, except for that one weekend that rotates in and out every so many years. So just the logistical pieces like that as well, particular holidays, understanding the importance of Christmas Eve, Christmas morning. Some people just want to glaze over it and say, well, that's your winter break from school, so here's what we'll do with it. When we really need to be focusing on the actual holiday.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's so important because, religion is so crucial to family life. They're totally intertwined. And when I talked about how every family has its own subculture, its own microculture, and religion is usually a big part of that. So I even imagine, in Jewish families that would be something that would really, need to be addressed as well. I mean, any religion, but wow, that's really great. So we've touched a little bit on co-parenting, and I had someone text in a question. Co-parenting is very popular now. How do you counsel people to go through a divorce, putting the kids first with the goal of co-parenting?
So co-parenting, just for those who don't really know what that is, simply means that two people are jointly and cooperatively making decisions regarding the children. So co-parenting is making those parenting decisions together and, trying to have that unified front for the kids. So people may have a lot of different meanings in their mind of what it is, but that's legally how the courts treat it, okay, as far as co-parenting. So getting people to focus on the children and co-parenting right from the beginning is very important. The beauty of having your own practice is if you don't want a case, you don't have to take it.
Yes.
And when those parents come in the door that are clearly wanting to use their children as pawns and wanting to manipulate the situation and not really put their children first, we'll have a few conversations about why that's important. And if they can't get on board, then they need to find a different attorney, because that's just not a road that we're going to go down. So it starts from the beginning. It starts from managing clients' expectations from the beginning that co-parenting is critical for your kids. Having that unified front is critical for your kids. And I don't expect every client to be a saint when it comes to never putting their own needs before their children's, because it happens and it's an emotional process. But at the same time, my job is to remind them that, yes, that might be more convenient for you, but what is best for the kids in this situation? This other school might be more convenient because it's really close to your work, but put that aside for a minute. What's best for the kids? Which school would you say is best for them? And a lot of times client will say, oh, wait, you're right. Wait a minute. Okay, so this other school is better. Or sometimes I say it's the same school. It's the best for all reasons. Okay, fine. But so really putting the children's needs at the forefront of our conversations, at the forefront of our goals as we're strategizing in the case, and then making sure that they are reminded that no matter what we're going through in the divorce, you got to try to keep that unified front. Now, that's a pipe dream for a lot of families. Yes. One parent or the other might be, you've got mental health issues a lot of times. You've got just a relationship that is absolutely so broken that there is no communicating at all, period, let alone about the children. So then we've got to deal with that. Then I'm crafting parenting plans, which is your agreement of how you're going to parent those children. I'm crafting those to deal with that. I'm putting in required contact for these particular decisions, or we're giving one parent sole decision making on some things because the other parent is so non-responsive that it would be impossible to co-parent. So those are all pieces that we have to deal with when thinking about whether co-parenting is even going to be possible. Because just because one person wants it to be doesn't mean it's going to be. And then if it's not possible, what are we going to do about it?
That's great. And yes. Well, yeah, I hope it answered that person's question, but it was very informative. And I'm sure that's really great information for many people who are struggling in this area. I love that you said the parenting plan, because I do that with my clients as well, especially the ones who, and you as an independent, what are you? Not practitioner. I'm a practitioner. I don't know, an independent counsel. Right. Yeah, can make that choice. Often, though, I get those, clients who are in that really painful, causing pain to each other place, especially around the co-parenting and parenting issues with divorces and breakups. And that is one thing that I do really emphasize is the parenting plan. And the way that it looks in my work is that literally when it comes to decisions about punishments, about consequences, when it comes to the calendar, when it comes to any little thing, we pre-make all those decisions, right? So what happens is we really just minimize any actual contact that has to happen because we've agreed on paper about what the decisions will already be for various things that come up. And that does help a lot. And I also know that many women will choose sometimes not to get divorced or to wait because they know, and not even women, I shouldn't even say that necessarily, although my show is predominantly for women. Many people will choose to wait until children have grown up. Because they know the other partner is not going to be mature enough to co-parent, and they fear, further damaging children. So that's certainly something that you have to walk. You've got to walk that fence between which is healthier for the kids, and it's harder. And sometimes, like you said, that fear of the unknown, you just don't quite know. But very good point. Yes, very good point. What else would you say? So first step, if you think your spouse is considering a divorce or you are considering a divorce, first step, go seek counsel, go seek an attorney. And would that generally be free? Is that the initial session or a consult?
I'd say it's about 50-50. Find someone who is free, especially if you're not ready really to move forward. Mm-hmm. Find someone who offers a free consultation, a free case assessment. We do in all of our offices. There's always someone who does. So, I tell people, even when they come to see me, I ask if they've seen other people. And if they say no, I say go see a couple people. It's a big decision. You need to go see multiple people. You need to get a feel for really a good fit for you. It needs to be someone that you're comfortable with. You're going to be walking through a lot of sticky stuff and reliving the horrible parts of your marriage and emotional issues. So it's got to be someone you're comfortable with as well.
Right.
Someone who you kind of want someone close to where you live, or where the court is going to be. You don't want to be traveling 3 counties over, and that's more of a logistical issue as far as cost, because attorneys probably across the board travel to and from the courthouse, and they charge you per the hour. So they're charging you to go to and from the courthouse.
Oh, good point.
So if you get someone 3 counties over and the courthouse is far from their office, then you're going to be charged more than if you found someone close to where your courthouse is going to be. That's just kind of a logistical thing to think of. But, back to your question, I would be willing to bet you could find someone who does free consultations anywhere across the United States, and that you should definitely seek out a few consultations, get a feel, get all the information that you can. That would be that next step. Okay,
wonderful. So second opinions, a couple consultations. Great.
Yes.
So we will be right back in just a minute. We are talking with Stacy Fawcette, a Christian divorce attorney. See you in just a minute. People ask me, how do you have so much energy? I am not a coffee drinker, but I love the benefits of matcha green tea. More antioxidants than coffee and a smooth energy, not the jittery kind that lasts me all day long. Perfect for you supermoms too. I have searched the world over for that perfect matcha for my smoothies, and I have found it at Kiss Me Organics. You can get it too at kissmeorganics.com. Enter the promo code Dr. Zoe, DRZOE, for 10% off and free shipping. Experience the smooth, healthy, organic energy of matcha green tea. KissMeOrganics.com. Hi, we are back with the Dr. Zoe Show, talking with Stacy Fawcette, a Christian divorce attorney. And if you're just tuning in, you can listen to the rest or the show on iTunes or Google Play, Libsyn, Stitcher, if you haven't gotten a chance to listen yet. But we are talking about Christian divorce, and I think it's a really important topic. So go back on iTunes and listen if you haven't heard. So, Stacy, I had a question about separation versus divorce. And I know that a lot of Christians may feel that, once again, there's that fear or that idea about the stigma or the sin of a legal divorce. And so they will think, well, we'll just get separated. We'll do a legal separation instead of divorcing. Do you have that in your practice? And what would you say about that?
A lot of people come to me and want to do a legal separation, but not all states honor a legal separation.
Oh.
So it was actually abolished in the Florida statute. There is no legal separation in Florida. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist in your state. It is available. And people, just as you suspected, because they're Christian, come in and say, I don't want to get a divorce because I know God hates that, but as if they can trick God, I'm just going to do just legal separation instead, right?
Right.
He knows our hearts. So I have to have the conversation with them that there's no such thing here
Wow.
in that particular state, and therefore we've got to look at other options. There are other options, though. But first, just to go back to our conversation earlier, which is that's not the part, the legal part is not the part of the divorce that God was talking about. We created this legal process,
exactly,
right? There weren't people doing this legal process back then. This is something we've created. God is more concerned about the heart, right? So leaving that topic for a minute, the options for people that are in states that don't have legal separation, so from a legal perspective, not an emotional, would it work for us to separate for a little bit? Because that's more of your realm.
Sure, right.
Is it useful to do that? And in some cases, I'm sure it is. Some cases, it's not. That's more your realm. But the legal options really, in the states that don't recognize a legal separation, are for them to enter into what in Florida we use a postnuptial agreement or any other type of kind of a settlement agreement resolving all of their issues as husband and wife, but then we simply don't move forward with the divorce.
Wow.
So in Florida, I would be counseling them, and in Tennessee as well, to enter into a postnuptial agreement. So this is going to take all of those aspects that we deal with in the divorce. The finances, is there going to be alimony? What are we doing with the house? Who's paying for it? How are we dividing up retirement accounts? And we're going to deal with it now. And sometimes it'll address the fact that we're going to live separate. Sometimes it won't address the fact that we're going to live separate. Sometimes it will say if we live separate, we're going to do A, and if we live together, we're going to do B. Because sometimes these people are entering into this agreement, but they may still be living together.
Wow.
Just different situations for different people, different things. But that is what we would be doing. Sometimes people want a legal separation, or they think that they do, because there's some sort of liability that's coming for their family. Maybe one of the examples that pops into my head is we had a representative wife, and we had a husband who was an alcoholic and was on his third DUI and had just seriously injured a family.
Wow.
So they're wanting to get legally separated, even though the marriage was also broken, but now they were wanting to do this to protect themselves financially, put everything in the wife's name. They're trying to avoid some liability. So, that's a different issue, but sometimes there are financial reasons. Sometimes it's for Medicaid planning or Medicare planning that they think that they need to have a legal separation. So just finding out really what the purpose is, what the goal is, if it's to protect them financially, if it's because emotionally they feel like that's what they need to do, will help us counsel them as to what direction to go in that regard.
Okay, that makes sense. Wow, I didn't even know about a post-nuptial agreement. Very interesting. And I would say in the case of my practice, I think that people go towards separation for emotional reasons. There's generally a lot of conflicted emotions. Do we really want to do this? Do we not want to do this? So, and there are a couple of times that I would definitely always say, yes, you guys should try. And for us in California, we do have legal separation. So obviously if we didn't, that would be another thing. But then there's the legal separation, then there's the physical separation, right? They're different things. But I would always suggest, number one, of course, in the case of any abuse, a separation should always happen. You can decide later if you want to divorce or what you want to do, but you guys need to be physically separated to keep you and your kids safe.
Safety being the priority there and being the goal, of course, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And then if you are conflicted, if you don't really know, and it is, a volatile situation or it's an unhealthy situation otherwise, then a legal separation or just a separation can be a good idea, during which time you can choose to at least attempt to work on the marriage. And just like you and I spoke earlier, you and I always suggest try to work on it first. And if you need to separate first and in order to work on it, do so. So those would be kind of the two main times on my side of the fence where I would suggest a legal separation or a physical separation prior to pursuing the divorce. And sometimes people just feel it's kind of like that, kind of maybe tricking themselves, feeling like, well, we're not going to get divorced, we're going to separate first. And it's a trial period, and it makes you feel better to try a separation than to go straight to the divorce as well.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure you've seen that too. So
yes.
Any other advice that you can think of for couples going through this, or a woman, maybe a stay-at-home mom who's struggling in this type of place right now in her life?
It really just goes back to seeking legal counsel, getting a hold of an attorney as early and as quickly as possible. There are things that you can do. For us, we will counsel people to start making copies of financial documents.
Oh, okay.
A lot of times people don't have access to all the financial documents, and that's okay. That's going to be part of your case, where we do get access to all the financial picture, because we can't divide up your assets until we know what assets exist. So we're going to get that, but it's funny how documents begin to disappear and they get destroyed when someone knows that they're heading down a divorce path. I can't tell you how many times I've had a client in say, those documents used to be laying around and now they're all gone.
Right.
So It will save you some money in the legal process if you have done a little bit of document gathering. So any financial documents that you see, anything from account statements to paycheck stubs to tax returns, just start making copies of and just have a little box somewhere where you keep all of those things. In addition, if you have alerts that you can set up on your bank accounts and credit cards to know when there are big things happening. Maybe someone is racking up a credit card, maybe someone is liquidating a bank account. These are things that you want to be aware of as quickly as possible if they're happening. Mm-hmm. Different states will treat them differently. It doesn't mean the money's gone forever just because it was withdrawn. We do financial injunctions to prevent those things from disappearing, if you will. But being aware, educating yourself and being aware of these things is important. Now, many of my cases, my client has no access to any of the financial information. It doesn't even have his or her name on accounts. And so that's just not possible. Don't feel like you're going to, suffer or not get what you're entitled to because of that. It's just a helpful step just in case. And then try to start putting money away. If you are the spouse that's a stay-at-home mom, like you were just saying, mm-hmm. start putting some money away in any way that you can. Every bit that you get access to, put it wherever you can put it. Leave it with a relative, leave it with a friend, put it under the mattress. It doesn't matter. Just start saving some money just in case you get completely cut off. You've got a little bit of a nest egg to work with.
Great. Stacy, this has just been a wonderful discussion, and thank you so much for being a guest on our show. I will put in the show notes where you can get a hold of Stacy. You gave your information already. You're on Facebook, and your firms are in Nashville, Tennessee, and Florida as well. And my takeaways, first of all, this is such a difficult, emotionally laden topic. And if you are listening and you're struggling with this, or you have a friend who's struggling with this situation, I just encourage you to listen to some of the tips that Stacy gave, because I know it can be terrifying. And when you think of all that must happen or needs to be done, it can be overwhelming. But just like she said, first step, just seek legal counsel. You can get a free consult. You can just at least know, and just like she said, having that knowledge can sometimes feel very freeing. And second, like she said, you would want to seek out a Christian attorney if you can. Save money. Make sure you do pay attention to all of those accounts and make copies and things like that if you're able to do so. So hopefully this information was really helpful. Hopefully most of you don't need it, but if you have a friend or you know of somebody who could utilize that information, please share. So thank you for tuning in to the Dr. Zoe Show. Tune in next week and every week on Tuesdays from 12 to 1 Pacific and 3 to 4 Eastern at LA Radio Now. And check out reruns of my show on iTunes, Google Play, Libsyn, and YouTube, where I am your life and relationship coach. I help sometimes struggling superwomen, which would be all of us, keep your mind in the game by redefining your superwoman. Connect with me at drzoeshaw.com or any of my social medias at the handle Dr. Zoe Shaw. Join my free newsletter and get a free copy of 30-Minute Life Transformation, The Secret to Getting Stuff Done, by texting the word JOIN to 38470. I look forward to speaking with you wonderful ladies on social media throughout the week. Have a super one.
You've been listening to The Dr. Zoe Show, redefining your superwoman, with your host, Dr. Zoe Shaw. Don't forget to sign up for her monthly newsletters to get encouragement, tips, and skills for keeping your mind in the superwoman game. Connect with her now at www.drzoeshaw.com. Tell your friends and subscribe to her podcast on iTunes. Join us next time for another edition of The Dr. Zoe Show.